our speakers are accounted for. So thank you everyone for coming. This is the Environment Council's annual Earth Day Lobby Day. And we've got another great series of speakers to discuss some of the priority legislations and initiatives that the environmental community is going to be pushing for this year. Before we get into those things, let me first introduce myself. I'm Abel Collins. I work for the Sierra Club. I'm also the Vice President for Policy of the Environment Council, which is why I get to organize this fantastic event. So like I said, before I get into the meat of our speaking program, I did just want to recognize Greg Garrett, who is our Environment Council hero. He was recognized this year with an EPA Merit Award. So big round of applause for Greg. Thank you for all your hard work, Greg. You do amazing things with so many issues. Greg is also the repository for our priority sheets, so when we get done speaking here, see him for the good and bad bills that we'll be pushing, and you can hand those flyers out to our General Assembly members. Yeah. So when I'm not up here running around trying to get our legislators to protect Rhode Island, or out there running around Rhode Island trying to do that myself, I live in Matunic, which it provides a nice segue between the event that just preceded this, the Watershed Counts report. I live in one of those areas that's most affected by our rapidly changing climate. We're losing feet every year to the ocean, and it's somewhat scary. And those are the types of issues that we're going to have to begin to deal with on an ongoing basis. And the Department of Transportation is doing that. The Department of Environmental Management, the Coastal Resources Management Committee. Really thinking about ways that we're going to start having to adapt to our changing climate. And every year we push forward a little bit farther, another step forward, trying to mitigate climate change or to make preparations for what's coming. And that should really be the backdrop, I think, of all our discussions about environmentalism. We're really facing serious challenges. I have twins who are going to be 2 years old this summer, and I wonder about the type of planet I'm going to leave to them. And we just came through a winter when they only got to play in the snow once, and the year before that they got to play in the snow, although not too much because they were very small. A lot. So we're seeing variations in our own local weather that really have to make you start to wonder what's coming. And that's just in Rhode Island. Looking around the world, we see floods and droughts and climate extremes that we see, tornadoes in the Midwest. And thankfully, a lot of those things are not happening here yet, although we did have our own flood. So we should be focused here, and that's why this event is so important. Another thing, of course, today is the presidential primary day. Hopefully you all went out and voted, or still time to get out there to your polling place and vote. Vote for your favorite delegates, and vote for your favorite candidate as well. And that sort of gives us to focus on the politics in Washington, and to think about how little is being done to sort of stem these environmental crises at the national level. And really it comes down to leaders like we have here in the Statehouse leading the way, rather than letting it happen in Washington, D.C., because we've seen such gridlock in Washington. They aren't even able to pass transportation bills anymore, which are about as bipartisan an issue as we have out there in this country. So it's no longer we can rely on our national leaders. It's really about our state leaders and what we can do here in the Rhode Island Statehouse. And is the governor here? All right. I am going to speak a little bit. The governor is going to lead off our series of speakers, and I'm going to ask him to speak about one of the great initiatives, one of the things that he has proposed in his budget, which is a couple of bond referendums that he's hoping to have on the November ballot. And these would provide funding for open space acquisition as well as clean water management funds. And critically important, we've come to a point where we really are scraping the bottom of the barrel in terms of funding for these issues. So now is the time we need to get these issues put on the ballot, and hopefully the Rhode Island public is ready to. And it's been wonderful to work with the governor and have him come to speak at these annual events. Before Governor Chafee was here, we really didn't have a receptive ear in the governor's office, and it's critically important that we have people who are willing to listen to us and to help us as we advocate for these strong environmental policies. And I'm still waiting. There he is. So, without further ado, can I call you up here, Link? Are you ready to speak?
Well, it's good to join you here and behind the great Gilbert Stewart painting, Rhode Islander. And thank you for all the good work you've been doing over the years, and pledge support to continue to do that. Our task is to get on the ballot the bond issues and then to pass them in November. And the record shows that since 1985, Rhode Islander voters have approved these conservation bonds by almost a 70% rate. So let's get out there and beat 70% this year. Keep that average up there for maybe future years when it's not as high. But let's keep that, because that's ultimately what legislators look at. The people want these, pass these bond issues. So keep up the good work. Looking forward to the dinner, the ECRI dinner coming up, and the awards. I don't know who's going to get the awards this year, but they're always well-deserving, and we always hear good words. Director Coit, you're doing a great job at DEM. Many cheers, and keep up the great work. Representative Walsh, Handy, Sosnowski, Tansy, and all those that are making good things happen here in Rhode Island. I just came back from Iraq and Afghanistan and Kuwait, and believe me, there's no green in those countries. Just brown for miles and miles and miles. The mountains in Afghanistan, they have a quick melt in the melt season. The rivers rush down and empty out, and then it turns right back to brown. And here where I was there in mid-April, and those rivers are long melted, back to brown now. They said they had the flash floods back maybe in March, and then it's brown for the rest of the year. So lucky here in Rhode Island to have what we have. Let's keep it good. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. Our next speaker is going to be Donna Walsh to speak about another one of the priorities for the 2012 session, which is going to be producer responsibility. And you might have noticed as you were walking around the room this great series of photographs. It's which speaks to producer responsibility. They were taken by Ellie Leonard Smith of Clean Water Action. Really, they're amazing artwork. They highlight CFL light bulbs, which we're hoping to get a bill passed to recycle appropriately, and also paint products. So check those out, and here's Donna Walsh.
These are great props for the two bills that I have in, and we did use some of them at the hearing. But I'm proud to say that Rhode Island is in the forefront of product stewardship. And I can look back to 2001 when the Mercury Education and Reduction Act was passed, and I was the sponsor of that bill, and that only dealt with mercury thermometers. And surprisingly enough, no one came to testify against that bill. And I was quite surprised, because now when we have a hearing, we have the whole East Coast lobbying group show up, and we have hearings that last 4 hours. But we are still in a way behind on product stewardship, and that is because in Europe, Japan, this has been going on since the early 1990s. And if it weren't for Clean Water Action and their education program, back when I first met Sheila Dormady in 2008, and she started talking about product stewardship, I probably wouldn't know as much about it as I do right now. But we are in the forefront because we do have mercury switches and mercury thermostats under control. We have e-waste under control. And now we're moving on to other new products. The latest bill that I've introduced is the paint bill. And it came about because last year I had the framework legislation, and we highlighted mattresses, paint, and sharps. And we had a lengthy hearing on that. Well, it didn't pass, but the most valuable thing about that was the fact that we learned about programs that manufacturers were beginning to institute. But they weren't telling us about these unless we put these ideas out there, unless we got the ball moving. So even though it didn't pass, we were successful in the fact that the paint industry did come back and met with us, met with GEM, Clean Water Action, Conservation Law Foundation, Resource Recovery, and we came up with an industry-driven bill specific to Rhode Island that actually helps in so many ways. And we're looking forward, we had the hearing, we're looking forward to passage of that bill, and I'm sure it will be coming out of committee soon. The second piece of legislation is the Cfl legislation, or compact fluorescent lamp bill. And we did hold a good hearing on that, and manufacturers have two choices. They can come up with something on their own, or they can have a mandatory program prescribed for them. And so there are choices. And I think it's important for industry to recognize that. But one of the interesting things we found out was that the industry is developing bulbs that contain almost no mercury at all. The bulbs we use today contain 5 milligrams of mercury. And you might say, oh, that's not much. But it is. It is, in the sense that just 5 milligrams can probably pollute up to 6,000 gallons of water. So is this something we want in our environment? No, let's close the loop on mercury now. And finally, the other legislation that I have that is a joint committee on packaging, printed paper and packaging. We're looking forward to having that started. We heard it in committee, and we will probably be having that come out as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing us continue to move forward in the product stewardship area, and I think we will. We have dedicated representatives and senators here. I think Senator Walaska just came in, and he has been involved with a lot of this product stewardship legislation in the Senate, and Senator Sosnowski as well. And I know that we have a bill on mattresses coming forward with Representative Handy. And there is a rechargeable battery bill that is Senator Ruggiero's. So there's a lot going on. We've got the conversation started, and I think manufacturers and producers are beginning to say product stewardship is here to stay, and we better get on the bandwagon, and I think they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Walsh. Very proud to call you my personal representative. So those are two of ECRI's identified positive bills. We have producer responsibility, well, the other one's not a bill, but the governor's budget items, the two bond issues. Our third bill that we're looking to really put a lot of pressure behind this year and hopefully get it passed is to increase funding for public transportation. We really want to make it possible for people to get out of their cars, reduce carbon emissions that way. The best way to do that in Rhode Island is by having a viable, sustainably funded public transit system. And one of our champions on the legislation that we're supporting this year, called the Public Transit Investment Act, is Representative Art Handy, who is chair of the Environment and Natural Resources Committee on the House side. Art? Yes. Please come up and speak.
I was worried Abel was going to steal my thunder and start describing the legislation there. For a second, I was like, hey, wait. No, as Abel said, one of the issues, at least for me, is near and dear to my heart, is public transit, making sure that there's really access, that people have a choice in the transportation options they want to take. Many people really outside of their homes, for them, their transportation, their cars, are the next most expensive item, between car insurance, gas, maintenance, car payments, taxes on those cars. It winds up being the second most expensive piece of their budget. And so if we can do things to take the pressure off that, either by giving them a complete replacement for that option, or at least maybe helping a two-car family go to one car, helping a one-car family go to some third option, whether it be car sharing or something like that, I think the more we can do with that, the better. I don't remember if you mentioned, Abel, but I mean, it is probably the easiest place we can go to reduce carbon emissions, to reduce fuel use here in the state. And so it's a really logical thing to make sure we're making it as easy as possible for people to use RIPTA. The challenge, of course, is that the current funding model that RIPTA uses is broken. They get their money from the gas tax. Pretty much 100% of the state funding that they get from Rhode Island comes from the gas tax. As gas prices go up, gas consumption goes down. As gas prices go up, RIPTA's budget goes up. As gas prices go up, people tend to look to buy more fuel-efficient cars, and again, fuel efficiency goes up, and they're buying less gas, and again, revenues go down while costs of RIPTA potentially keep going up. And of course, I know somebody had said to me the inflation-adjusted price was something like half of what it was the last time we raised the gas tax anyway. So on top of everything else, inflation also is significantly eating into their bottom line as well. And all the while, all their other costs, health care, all that sort of stuff are going up at the same time. So what the Coalition for Transportation Choices, Representative O'Grady and Senator DePalma, thank you, are sponsoring is a piece of legislation to really look at a more sensible way to fund the transit system. What it would do is look to the car registration fees that are, again, a more stable source of funding over time. Again, still based on usage effectively by again, somebody that's got a car is helping to pay for the system. And everybody can remember, next time you get caught in gridlock, think about how nice it would be to have only half those cars there along the way, and so how much of a benefit that would be to you. So this would use car registration fees, would be phased in over time. We did put a piece of that in the budget last session, but it really wasn't for RIPTA, it was for the DOT, Department of Transportation, which does need additional funding. I'm happy to see the Pawtucket Bridge, one side of it's opened up again, but we've got to get the other side opened up again soon too. So I want to really praise Rep. O'Grady and Senator DePalma for their leadership on this. It's something I also am really interested in and pushing for as well. So hopefully we'll see that, and again, it really is going to take everybody staying involved in this. folks that take the bus or don't take the bus, folks that are interested in making sure that we continue to have a train stop with MBTA. This is, again, one of those other kind of pieces of the mix here. Folks may know the MBTA is looking to cut their budget as well. So we need to have an active voice out here. A lot of times I've found, unfortunately, we haven't had a strong voice from transit riders as I think we can, because there are thousands and thousands, but not everybody sort of realizes that. In fact, a lot of times it's their next door neighbor that takes public transit, not just folks that they sort of have a stereotype of in their head. So, and I didn't want to forget to mention, Leo Ruggiero is actually also the sponsor on the Senate side of the mattress bill that I'm the sponsor of on the House side around product stewardship. Let's see, I think those are the main points I wanted to bring out, but again, I appreciate everybody coming out today. I've always said it before and I'll say it again, it really takes you guys to help move these things forward. You know, the senators and reps, we're able to put those bills in, but it really takes you guys getting your shoulders behind it and giving it that momentum to get it through. So thanks a lot for coming out today. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Handy. So our final speaker today is Art's counterpart on the Senate side, Senator Sue Sosnowski, who chairs the Senate Environment and Agriculture Committee. And I'd love to welcome her up here to share a few words about priorities on the Senate side. You've heard about our 3 great bills. I'll probably follow Sue up by talking about some of the bills we don't like this year and a few other things we can do.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you, Eva, and it's a real pleasure to be here. I don't have my glasses on, so I'm going to wing it here. I wrote something very small print, so. But it's always a thrill to join you on Earth Day, and very lively group out there. When I was in Senate Finance, I heard all the lively group, and I thought it was the revelers for Earth Day. And very well, I'm sure they're all very excited that it is the 42nd celebration of Earth Day in our country. But I want to start off by saying how, not that we have anything to do with it in the governor's office or in the legislature, but I'm grateful for the rain that we received over the weekend, so I'm really excited over that. All of you that are here today, I want to start off congratulating the governor for all his accomplishments that he has done when he was a mayor, when he was a senator, and when he's a governor. He's been consistent in his environmental accomplishments, and I'm very grateful that he's our governor, and I congratulate you for all that you've done and continue to do. And also to my colleagues in the General Assembly, Representative Handy and Representative Walsh, Representative Tansey, and Senator Walaska was in, and I'm sure he had to go to another meeting. But my colleagues in the General Assembly over the years since I've been here have been very supportive, I feel, on a lot of environmental issues, and we've been able to make great strides in the General Assembly. And here we are today. I think we can really be proud of our accomplishments. The different organizations that we have in Rhode Island, I really have to congratulate you all for all your energy and your enthusiasm over the years. You've continued to be great advocates, and I'm very privileged to work with these folks as we have been working on enhancing local agriculture, the reuse of brownfield sites. Our DEM director that we have has been a great advocate presently and in her past positions for the environment, and protecting open space, forest land and farmland for our future generations. As the governor mentioned, the citizens of our state have been overwhelmingly in support of the bond issues in the past. I feel like I'm speaking to the choir here. We know how important it is, but we can all be proud that our people in our state have joined together and have consistently voted for those bond issues. So I'll be working very hard to make sure that does get on the ballot this year. In the Senate, a lot of the bills, our leader, Ruggiero, has really taken a leadership role over the past several years on many environmental initiatives as far as product stewardship and the mattress bill and the battery bill, and I'm very happy that we have a leader in the Senate who is so interested in these issues. which hasn't always been the case in the Senate. I can remember when I first came in, environmental issues were somewhat important, but to have a leader so committed to those issues is very gratifying. But in the Senate, in addition to the bills that were mentioned by Representative Walsh, I almost called her Senator Walsh because she was in the Senate for several years, there are bills that are addressing air pollution, emissions from wood boilers and wood stoves. They encourage the use of biofuels in our state, expanding areas, which are near and dear to my heart, about plant agriculture, and for DEM to establish the local ag and seafood grant and technical assistance programs, which I'm very excited about. And while passing legislation, I know it's never enough for our advocates that are here in the room, and sometimes it's never enough for me, but we have to continue trying. But we also have to remember that it's always a balancing act. And we have to remember those over the past 40 years that have worked so hard back in the 70s and up till today that I consider real environmentalists and conservationists. And sometimes we have to be careful in the legislature and in government. We have to remember to protect those who have been protecting our environment. And we have to make sure that we continue with that balancing act, that we have jobs that enhance the environment as well as enhance our Rhode Island economy. And I'm sure Abel's going to talk about the bills that he doesn't like, and we always have those, and that's part of the process up here, but we are in a very difficult economy, and again, we have to make sure that we continue forward and get jobs in this state. And thank you again. Congratulations for all your successes, and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Sosnowski. I'm proud to call her my personal senator. There's some great leaders down in South Kingstown. Yes, good folks. I do also want to recognize Representative Tanzi, who joined us in the crowd today, and Director Janet Coit of the Department of Environmental Management. Thank you for coming. Senator Walaska, I didn't see him myself, but I understand he was here. So there's, as Sue said, there are a few things that we're concerned about at the Environment Council. Last year we just had one major bill to oppose, but this year we've identified two more. So I wanted to take a second to talk about some of those. The first one is a continuing effort that we see year on year to overturn the state's ban on waste incineration. And a study commission has been established this year, well, I think it was established in the past as well, to look at the issue further. But really, we don't want to see this safeguard for public health and for our environment's health overturned. And one of the things you can all do while you're here today is put your name on this very large petition that's on the table over here. I encourage you all to do that. There is also a petition to support greater transit funding and push forward that Public Transit Investment Act. Couldn't let that chance slip by. So that's one thing. We do definitely want to preserve that ban on waste incineration. And the bill number there is 7049. It's on the House, in the House. The other pieces of legislation which the Environment Council is very worried about, one is called the Dry Lands Bill. And this bill has gone through numerous iterations. I think year in and year out, it probably gets a little better from our point of view. But you know, we feel that it takes away some of the municipalities' authorities to manage their own land in accordance with their own comprehensive plans. And beyond that, it has the potential of really endangering some sensitive areas, you know, steep slopes or in wetlands. It would encourage more development on those areas, and we want to be very careful of that. There are potentially ways that it could be done correctly, but we have to be very careful. So that's a bill that we oppose, and those are H7866 and S2616. Again, you'll find all these bills listed on this priority sheet, which you can hand out to General Assembly members in a few minutes. You can hear the bell ringing, so we should get out there. The final bill would make state lands and municipal lands, it would